And since there's only three of us, we should do intros.
Sure.
We're gonna talk about looking for ideas for first year engineering, but are you game? I don't know who the third person is. Is it C. Koenig?
C. Koenig, yes, that's me. My name is Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Nice to meet you. I'm joining you from Memorial University of Newfoundland.
Oh, fantastic.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
Who are you, Todd?
So my name is Todd Nielsen, and I've been working in the Engineering Unleashed community behind the scenes for many years. And I am a community strategist by trade. I run my own company based here in Wisconsin, and I'm an enthusiastic supporter of all things Engineering Unleashed.
Awesome.
And what about you, AnnMarie?
Yeah, I've been here 15 years. I'm a 15-year professor at University of St. Thomas, where I actually wear at least two hats. One is I'm a professor in mechanical engineering. The other is I'm actually a professor in the business school in entrepreneurship. And then I guess maybe it's a tiara since it's not officially a professorship, but I teach in the School of Education in the engineering education program for K-12 teachers and also the K-12 education leadership program. So kind of play around those fields. And Carolyn, I'm going to be honest with you and those of you watching that this is the first time that we've tried one of these. I'm one of the Comcats. And I was asked if I could kind of live look for cards. However, Carolyn, we're recording, so share as much as you're comfortable. But if you're willing to share kind of what drew you to this, I can tailor to that a little bit because I've been teaching first year engineering for 15 years. So
okay.
Happy to help out a bit. And we can even do this kind of live looking for your stuff together.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be happy to share. In fact, I will also, I'm going to do the video. Ta-da, this is me. I kind of didn't know what to expect. So that's why I was deciding, no, I just won't do the video thing. So yeah, nice to meet you. And so my background is as from Montreal. Really, I did my schooling there, and I worked there in industry doing pharmaceutical packaging machinery design. So pick and place machines, and my background was in making a lot of prototypes with the people that I worked with, the team in the prototyping department. So that was where I got a lot of my CAD skills, and from there I moved to St. John's, Newfoundland, and did a variety of different things. One of them was I worked with a company making acoustic guitars. So we started from zero and built a plant to make 100 acoustic guitars a day. And my role there was a variety of things, but doing jigs and fixture design, some product design, and some of the bracing design of the guitar. So again, sort of drawing on the industrial design background. Then I fell into education, which is a great thing. And I have been doing that, a lab instructor, for, I was just looking that up today, about 16 years. I was teaching AutoCAD, we switched to SolidWorks, and now we're using Onshape.
Okay.
So we have quite a high number of students in our labs, and you know, I have repeats, so sections, you know, 3 and 4 sections, and I've probably seen 5,000 students over the years. And then one of my side projects is credentials, micro credentials in CAD. So that's me in a nutshell. Done.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
Cool. Well, so some similarities, because I teach the engineering graphics class that I think I've now taught it over 45 times. Started back in 2006, taught it like 5 times a year. And it used to be we do 4 credits for our full classes. So it used to be a 4-credit class. And I was responsible for teaching design process as well as drafting, drawing, and CAD. We use SolidWorks. But we changed our curriculum and now it's a 2-credit class. So we focus more on the CAD and drafting and a lot less on the design, but I can't resist putting design in because it tends to motivate students. And so what I kind of thought we could do, maybe we could even do it together, is I know that one of the hopes the Comcats had with these sections were showing how to look for cards. And so have you, Carolyn, not to put you on the spot, but have you used any cards from Engineering Unleashed in your classes?
I haven't. I only recently was introduced to Engineering Unleashed because I'm planning a complete revamp of my lab. And I have a whole bunch of plans to make it real CAD, to make it based on local industry, to allow our co-op students to create portfolios in CAD they can use in their job interviews. So I have all these wishes, and we're just about to start doing that. And that's how I found Engineering Unleashed.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so I will say I'm one of the Comcats. So we look at cards, but we also look for ways to get people connected with each other. One plug I'll make for you and anyone who watches is this year, the third Monday of every month, so we only have one more left for this year, we've been doing an hour-long Zoom meetup to talk about first-year engineering. And it's actually been great. We've had up to 14 people at some of them, and just kind of sharing how things are going and honestly venting to each other. We don't record those for obvious reasons. But I'm going to talk to Todd and the rest of the Comcats about doing more of those next year. And it might be cool to do one that focuses on people teaching CAD. So I will say our class, actually, I was just giving a talk a moment ago to another Keen school about how we teach. And this is actually a picture of our engineering CAD class. Doesn't really look like it, but we were having them do, sort of like you mentioned, real projects. They were designing props for a dance troupe, and it led to, these are first semester freshmen, it was a homework assignment, designing things that could be built that could be used by a dance troupe. And they actually did. This one led to actually a nationally touring piece or internationally touring piece. Can I make this smaller? I was gonna, if I could, other things that we've done in our first year class, as I scroll through some things, we often work with partners. So we did some design with a museum. And so I was going into this thinking if no one showed up, what I would look for would be new design projects that I could do for my class, because I have taught this class 45 times and sometimes lose track of whether I've told the same joke that day. So I thought I would take a chance, and I kind of purposely didn't search much because I figured I would do it live and then Todd could coach me. So I actually have done a card. Let's see, the card dashboard. We have a card from a project. The one card I've done recently on this kind of thing, this was our freshman design class a couple years ago. We always like to have a project for a client, and our client, we did this through our university sustainable communities partnership. What we had the students do was design little free libraries, and then we actually had them built, not by the students in the class so they could volunteer to help, but we had 4 clients. One client was Metro Deaf School, a deaf school that we lead some engineering work at. This one went to the Minnesota Children's Museum. This one went to our pollinator path, and this one was for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And we actually had representatives from each of these come and talk to the students, and then groups of students designed a little free library that would work for those criteria. And then the clients picked one, and it actually was built and delivered to their locations. So in terms of a card, what we shared, we tried to talk a little bit. Actually, one of my undergraduate teaching assistants helped write this one, so I want to give her a shout out. How we shared our card, we actually shared the paper itself. So you get an overview of what we did here, the learning objectives, the tips that we had. Then we've got some links here to the paper we wrote for the American Society of Engineering Education Conference, but then our project guidelines, the presentation we gave, and then some of these student artifacts. Let's see. Ooh, that's embarrassing. Download server problem. I will find out why it's corrupted. Maybe it's a problem with our thing. But we had shared a bunch of examples from our students. So this is one card. And actually, we got some nice feedback from one of the other Comcats, Margot, who kind of gave us a little bit of ideas about things that we can add to it. I will embarrassedly admit that I didn't address those yet, but hopefully we'll get there. So that's our card, and I wasn't even going to share ours, but thought I would because it ties into first year in CAD. On the other hand, we can do this live together. If I were to go to the search cards, let's say we were looking for computer aided design. I've found that when I search for cards, it's often better to not get too specific at first. And so I'm just going to type in computer aided design, and let's see what we get. Now, sometimes we'll get ones that say card decks, and those are fun because those are cards, but they're cards where somebody has curated a whole bunch of other cards. All right, so I'm going to open this one in a tab. Utilization of computer graphics for design innovation. Design process. We got a card deck. Oh, storytelling with machines. I've actually heard about this one through some Keen meetups. We'll start with these. Let's see. So honestly, I will say you do have to spend some time kind of going through them and looking at what people have done, but here's a prototyping lab. And then what these cards look like. So actually, I'm curious. Let's go to the card deck. So a card deck, we can go in, and this tells us that these are different parts of the design process. And Todd, if you have suggestions, because you have been working on this forever, hop in. I really am just playing along of like, let's see what we find.
No worries. I'll jump in if I feel like I've got something useful to offer. But you're doing great. I appreciate how you're going about going in and taking a look at the resources that are available, opening them in new tabs. I think it's a good strategy for somebody just trying to get used to the platform and to see what kinds of resources are available.
Yeah, and then one thing you can do is you can favorite them. I tend not to, when I'm looking, favorite them. I tend to do exactly what I just did. The like scroll down and then I'm right clicking on my mouse. I'm like, open up a new tab here. So let's see, card deck, workshops. You know what? And you said you guys are using Onshape. Let's be a little tricky and see if we get Onshape.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, okay. All right. Well, these are bringing up Onshape. So let's see. I'll open that one as a tab. Their summer bridge program. That one's for Sia. Wind turbine design. Let's look at that. All right. So now if we go into these, computer graphics for design, I typically go through and look, where the person's from. So on a card, we can find that. And then read these up. So this looks like these students were designing product or system with CAD. Instructor tips, and placeholder files. So it looks like this one might be one that people are still adding to. There's not a lot of resources here. So I'd probably stop that one for now. The other two things that I often look for when I'm looking for cards is whether any of them are exemplary cards. So we'll see if that pops up. Those mean that they've been reviewed, and someone on the Comcats team has really said this is an exceptional card. So a card deck, again, these are different cards, different processes, and we can go to any of them. If you are new to this process, I'll be honest that this could be a little overwhelming. These are all different. So here are different challenges, and balloon plane launch, co-transmission, elevator pitch, foil boats innovation challenge. And I could copy and open those up as well. But let's just leave these for now. We know these are different ones. We know it's a card deck. It's maybe a little much. Here's one we have, storytelling with machines. And this one with Strada, she's walked through and actually tells us all of what goes into hers, and what kind of projects they were doing. And typically, we should have a list of learning objectives and then the instructor tips. Again, also we'll have down here, she shared all of her materials. I will confess that I know Strada and I've heard about this work before, and have been really interested, but have not taken the time to look at the cards. So I might come back to this one because I can actually go in and see, for example, like her first project, for example. All right, so Todd, I'm running into download errors again.
Yeah, we're seeing a minor glitch right now. What I've been advised by Becky is that if we're actually better off doing download all.
Okay, I'm gonna download all.
And then you can just open it up and see all the files in the folder.
Okay. So storytelling with machines. I've downloaded all of her stuff.
That's incidentally a pretty recent addition, the download all button. It just makes it a little bit easier to get all of those individual downloads at once to be able to take a look at them.
Oh, good. Okay, so now, here, what the heck? I will share. Let's open up the final project, a mini project. I'll grab a couple of these things, what goes into their different projects. And so in this case, we have some of her files, and she's actually shared all of her rubrics and all of her assignments. And the nice thing about this is we can just use these in our own classroom. And obviously we want a site where we're getting stuff from. But she walks us through they're doing linkage automation. And they are going to explore linkages. So this is something actually I've done linkages in my upper level classes. I'm curious to see how they do it. And she shared what they're doing for their rubric. and then their final project. Since I'm just scanning through these and I didn't cheat and didn't read ahead, I'm also going to go back to the main page and download the student examples as a download all. Let's see what the students created with this one. I know I typically prefer looking at ones that have student work because it really shows me what they've done and what it looks like when it's applied, as opposed to what the professor was hoping for, which doesn't always match, or at least in my class, what I'm hoping for does not always match what the students actually do. Oh, cool. Okay. So here are their designs of cams, and again, trying to come up with stories. So not just the engineering side of it, but something I'm kind of partial to, the art side.
I love those.
Actually,
Those are great.
this is actually, so I will say, as someone who teaches the CAD class in our department for freshmen and always looks for final projects, I mean, this could make a really good CAD project. I know these are hand drawn and then done with cardboard and wood, but I'm kind of psyched to maybe flag this one to try again later. Now, I had looked for Onshape, so let's see some of those cards that we got with Onshape. This was a card deck, and now I'm going to confess I haven't really used many of the card decks. Sometimes kind of vary, I think, in the easiest ways to navigate them. But let's see, do we see Onshape on here at all? Onshape, there must be, because it brought it up. So I'm going to search. Okay. Someone just says have them. Oh, no, that doesn't seem to be what we're looking for, but maybe this one uses Onshape. All right. So they're using Onshape as their CAD. Well, SolidWorks or Onshape. Let's see. All right. Well, so the good news is those of us who teach CAD know that you can pretty much do the same projects regardless of which program you're using. So this is kind of a neat one in that it looks like Blake and his team were doing wind turbine design. So I might consider this. Let's see. So part one is they design their turbines, then they print them. And it looks like, just like before, we've got a share of all of the instructions, the grading rubrics, student examples. So this is one, I mean, since I actually am trying to think through what I'm going to do for my projects for my 4 sections next year, this is one I might favorite. Yeah, add a little favorite here. I feel like I owe you an update in a year, Todd, of whether I used any of these. Let's try CAD one more time. CAD with a purpose. Let's see. Some other ones that I might tag. Design sketch to CAD, the physical prototype, a fast class, it sounds like. And I think I should be able to tag, can I tag exemplars here? Can I search for exemplars? Because as I was mentioning, one of the things we'll often look for are ones that have been tagged. Here we go to exemplar cards. And now within the exemplars, Todd, you would know this. Is there a way that I can search within exemplars?
You could search for cards with exemplar in the search terms, I think.
Let's try it. Okay, so we'll try CAD and exemplar. Here we go. Here's one.
Yep.
So opportunities for advanced students in first-year engineering. All right. So it looks like students who have already had some CAD experience. And what are they going to work on here? So design project example. So I'd probably open this one up and see. Oh, that one opened. Awesome.
There we go.
Maybe because it was only a single one.
Maybe so.
All right. All right, I probably would take the time to read the card a little more since I'm not entirely sure what we're looking at here. Let's try another one that had exemplar in CAD. We've got our, so this looks a little more like where my freshmen are. So going from a sketch to CAD to prototype. And so this one is coming to us from Western New England. And what did they give us? So they've given us the assignment, the simple machines, realizing engineering design, rapid prototyping. Actually, I think I'm gonna flag this one because this also sounds like something that would be useful for one of my classes.
AnnMarie, for people that are maybe a little newer to the platform,
Yeah.
When you're marking something as a favorite, how do you get back to that?
Great question. If I go to my card dashboard, oh, my dashboard. There we go. Okay. Then I'm going to go to, oh, this is a really good idea. This is why we practice before going, right? As I'm making this up as I go along, trying to see how I would do this. I mean, I often browse them, but I haven't used that trick before. Actually, I usually just have a million tabs.
Yeah, well, this is us discovering, one of the things we're doing is we're in the process of trying to improve the platform. And this is a platform that was built pretty much from scratch. And so if we're missing a piece here, we need to make sure that we get it into play. Yeah, because I can see groups and cards.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they come up. Let's see, cards. So let's show me my card dashboard.
I will consult the oracles and see what they have to say. Yes,
that would be great. And I think I should send you also, Todd. So something else, sharing with both of you, is we ran a survey and we got 50 responses, or 51, but I wanted to wait till we got 50 of how people use cards and their feedback. And I've sent that to some of the folks at Keen, but I should send it to you as well, Todd. All right. You know what? I don't know. So I guess I better stick to my method here of adding a tab that I keep. But a CAD with a purpose also sounds rather promising to me. So this is, for Carolyn, for you, this is how I tend to use these. Now, I will be honest, how I've used them in the past. I told myself that I was going to go into this and try it the way as if I was totally new to this. If you're new to Keen, one of the ways that I honestly really tend to find my stuff is by going to the workshops and going to the meetups and going to the first year things and meeting people I know that are doing interesting work in some of their classes, because I can then find their cards by person. Mm-hmm. So, if I knew that I'm like blanking here, but let's see. Let me go back to cards. Sketch. Oh, from designs. Here we go. From design. Since I already downloaded this one, sketch. Here we go. So this one, if I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I've met Andrea at an event. I can actually go to her and see all of her cards. So when I go to Andrea's page, so from Western New England, now that I know she's doing that kind of sketch CAD prototype, she's probably shared other things like that. And I'll go in and now I see, oh, wait, look, she's making things move. So building with non-engineering teammates, man, that's one that would be really useful for me as someone who teaches tech prototyping to business students. This one I've now tabbed for myself to look at for but thinking for my engineering class, but maybe for my business class. She also, it looks like, is doing some other makerspace classes. So now that is something where I can go to, I can follow Andrea. Now that's someone. Strata, the storytelling one, is actually someone that I met through Keen and actually was meeting quite a bit. One-on-one to kind of just mentor her as she's a more junior faculty member. And now I can go in and be like, oh, what other cards has Strata shared? Okay, well here I see that they're doing some things in co-curriculars. There's our storytelling with machines, and that's definitely what I want to go back to. It looks like she's been collaborating with others on some of their cards, which is fascinating. And we can also find out which groups people are in. So that is one place, Carolyn, I'd recommend, is starting to look around on who's here in Keen. For me, that has actually been how I've found cards, less using the search and more meeting people or seeing a presentation or a workshop. But I do try at least once a month to kind of go in and search, topics that I'm more a browser. So like, what are people doing with music? All right. Oh, music and art. Oh, but that was me. We'll skip that one. Thermodynamics and the art. So that's, again, something I'm always interested in, is how people are using music in their classes. I found with the freshmen, it's often fun to tie in unexpected partnerships in our projects. So music's one of my favorites. And that is how I would browse.
And
There we go.
if I could just call that out, I mean, I really like,
Please do.
I really like your approach, to, remind everybody that it's not just about using the search button to get in there and look, but, serendipitously find cards that are of interest, find out who wrote them, and then go take a look at what other kinds of great things they've done. I've had people talk about using Engineering Unleashed almost as their sort of very specialized LinkedIn place to just go and look for profiles and other people that have similar interests, similar backgrounds that you may be able to collaborate with. So thanks for calling that out. That was great.
Another place, if you're getting used to this, if you're new to all of this, is to look at the stories. And stories tend to be like a great one. Again, if you're new to this, is looking at the getting started. And with these, there's often a lot of cards that are suggested. These are often written by the Comcats as well, or card decks. So this is sort of near and dear to many people in the Keen community, or Engineering Unleashed community, is the getting people making stuff and maker spaces. So I do typically look at these when we get them in our emails, the stories, and just seeing what are people doing. But community, you also can ask questions. So if you are trying to find a card that covers a specific topic, this is a place you can look. Does anybody have ideas for on-shape assignments that have been really useful with your students, or tutorials or lessons? And there is the Comcat community of, I forget how many people, Todd, there's about 10, 15 of us. Oh, you're muted, Todd.
Sorry. Yeah, there's no more than 15 right now. We've had larger groups in the past, but I think we found that like the slightly smaller group works a little bit better. So yeah, a lot of great people. The Comcats, or the community catalysts, are individuals from the Engineering Unleashed community who are willing to give a little extra time and effort to help build out the sense of community here, to help review cards, provide mentoring, a variety of different kinds of things. And then, AnnMarie, you've been a Comcat for, I think, at least a couple of go-rounds so far.
All right, well, I'll end one more search here because I am curious. Since we were saying first year engineering, this is one of the ones that popped up. And extension activities. I always love activity ones where I can find a small activity that I can throw in. And this actually looks like a really useful one. So a variety of topics for first year engineering, but this is a professor who is sharing actually extra credit projects they offered. So doing a laser cut jigsaw puzzle, or a 3D printed spinning top. And this is where I cross my fingers and hope that they've also shared for us what materials they need and what the assignments are. And there we go. Okay, this professor has done some work for us and is sharing it with us, where we can actually borrow the things that they've created. So if you're looking for a nice short assignment to use, 3D printed top, that sounds promising to me. So let's look at the instructions for it. Can I look at that one right here? Let's see. Okay, I'll have to do the download all, but that is absolutely fine. But I'm going to go to download that. Okay, then I will open it up on my desktop, which I won't show you because it's way too messy right now. Here we go, extension activities. And I'm always looking for some fun new CAD projects. So let's see, here we go. Oh, this is awesome. Okay. So they have shared with us. Nope, not that one. They have shared with us Word, the assignment. So it's gonna be 3D printed. Obviously, if I was gonna adopt this in my own class, I would read this pretty carefully. But their assignment is to work on your 3D printing and modeling and rapidly prototype a spinning top. This professor has walked us through a bunch of their constraints. So having a base and a handle. Looks like we have to put a text on there. If he's given some advice on curving text or things that you might want to add in. They've even got videos. And this is on Onshape, actually. And so look, we've got some videos on how to create some of the things he's suggesting.
Okay.
Now, if I were going to print this at home, if I were going to do this, I might not use this part, obviously, because we have different printers. But this is for the end of the semester when we're all a little bit tired. It is so lovely to be able to see what other people are doing. And this professor's also shared some of the exemplars of what his students have done. So there are some pictures available on that site as well. So this, Carolyn, these are the best. And those of you watching is when you're like, oh, I'm looking for something, an icebreaker or a small assignment. Finding ones where someone's really shared their materials. And then what you'd want to do, right, is if I were using this card, which it's entirely possible. Again, ask me in a year, maybe I'll borrow this. This actually could make a nice little homework assignment in our class. We can then go in and I can actually write a little discussion. I can say, hey, love this, use this. Or, have you had any problems with that printer, or asking questions? And they will get a notification that you have sent them a message.
Yeah, that was a really amazing example, AnnMarie. And I do like to emphasize, that ability to interact with the authors down on the bottom of each of the cards. Some respond, some don't quickly, but I mean, it is a place to have some interaction. And of course, you can always reach out to them via a message as well within the platform. That'll go directly to their email inbox.
I have an idea, Todd. It might not be a bad idea for us to have kind of like Ignite style talks. They're like short talk, but actually do a couple meetups, maybe next academic year, on a specific theme, like come share your CAD card, and we could MC it, but have folks like those authors come and just share their card and walk us through it.
That's a fantastic idea. I think we should definitely do that.
Yeah, and we could do those. We could do icebreaker cards and then have the actual authors present them, because I feel like I'm cheating. I'm showing other people's cards, but I almost cheated, almost planned my cards in advance, but I told Todd I would just search for them live.
But this is amazing, because it's the discovery process and sort of evaluating and figuring out how am I going to use this and what's going to be valuable to me and how did I find this particular card.
But I think it'd be awesome to curate a couple where the authors can actually show us theirs, because then you'd actually know the author. And I know, like Carolyn mentions, we're all teaching, all the schools are teaching CAD for mechanical especially. So it would be cool if I would volunteer to organize CAD card night and let the authors show us theirs. So maybe invite Strada to show us, maker card session. Would that help? Is that something that we have interest, Carolyn?
Yes, there's just so much of interest. So I really appreciated seeing you walk through the site. But one thing that is especially of interest to me is how to reduce the amount of effort it takes to teach in the lab, because we have very large user groups, right? So, and you do repeats. Mm-hmm. And I will throw myself at that wall, and I have. You talk about how many offerings you've given, and I think I've been doing this for, 15 years times 7 offerings. Now, I've gone through different types of CAD, and I always put in something new, but I regularly leave the lab feeling exhausted. And I say there needs to be less talking and more doing. Yet, we know you cannot just put the cookies in the oven and out comes the CAD. You've got to get them to go through this. So I'm trying to create a new lab where, yes, some work has to be done up front, in the middle, and at the end. But where can I let them fly? And as a person who comes from an era of computers weren't born then, be careful how you move the mouse. I learned that it's the opposite. You have to let them teach you. And so I'm really interested in reducing the amount of effort that goes in, letting them fly, coming up with new ideas, tying it to real CAD, multidisciplinary, cutting edge stuff that's going on locally. But again, I come out at the end feeling like I flipped the lab more than I ever have. I'm the guide on the side. We've got our TAs, and I can show them something new that'll really knock their socks off, rather than me going up there and saying, don't forget, don't forget. Oh, I have to demonstrate this. Oh, you've got the video, watch that. There's a lot of effort that goes into these labs. And I'm almost more interested in talking about reducing the effort so that you can be a better instructor, not just an exhausted instructor. A good one and exhausted, but like always good and less exhausted. That's an area that I have to purposely remind myself of, because I can build a bigger thing, but I know tricky to give it without leaving older and tired, more tired, you know?
And I think a lot of us are there, which is where this community is really nice. And the sharing, though, I think it's one thing we're realizing with the cards, sometimes it is hard to find the really plug and play sort of things where you can pull those in. But if we can, as a group, share, we're all kind of reinventing the same wheels. So we can pull some of that together so that you can find a little more of that energy.
Yeah, and also what I mean, universities will say, some, ours, we don't teach software, right? I mean, sometimes the software is taught at colleges, more so in Canada. Colleges handle that. And I mean, engineers are not going to be CAD jockeys. They are going to be engineers, and they'll have some knowledge of the tools. So how much do they need to know? How good do they need to be? When my students leave the lab, after I've seen them for, I'm going to say 8 labs, or say 7 labs. The first one's an intro, the last 2 are tests. 7 labs times 2 hours is 14 hours that I have with them. And when they leave my labs, not only can they model, do assemblies, do assembly drawings and detailed drawings, you know, maybe they can also animate or, you know, tie in variables and design intent. That's 14 hours of CAD. Have I done my job? Have I gone too far? Am I, how, so what I'm interested is, you know, those learning outcomes. Where is the sweet spot? What are other universities doing? Are we in that sweet spot? Are we not, you know, far enough? Should we introduce finite element analysis and tolerancing? I don't think so. Maybe slightly, but right, without exhausting yourself, because you just don't have enough time. Anyway, I can go on at length, but
oh no, absolutely. And I know, Todd, like we can also maybe even stop recording, or since we're chatting, but this is a common concern. I think we're especially seeing it after COVID, that everyone's a little bit just, the group that I lead on Monday nights, we did it this year. We did it this week, but it's first year engineering, and the same thing, and all these shifting things, and everyone's a little tired. The other thing, and I as someone who teaches CAD, shares how much should I be teaching the software? What do people need for the next class I'm teaching? The other thing, though, that's popping up a little bit is, I don't know how this is in Canada, is the students we're seeing are maybe differently prepared than the students we saw before COVID.
Definitely.
Okay, yeah, that is one of the.
You know what? I'm more pleasantly surprised sometimes with what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing that they're, now again, there's always a like you can talk about the lab, there's 25% who are not showing up and they're failing. There's 25 who are going too far, and you're like, hang on, I can't go that fast. And then the middle, I always aim at the middle. So I'd love to have these conversations, because there's a lot to a lab. And often we're talking about the CAD skills. I can do the CAD skills, but I really would like to talk with others about how they're laying their labs out, and how many hours you have, and what percentage, and what learning outcomes, and right, like expectations. And
that sounds like something we could pull a group together for, Todd, doesn't it? I mean, we do this, so these are the live discussions, and it seems like it'd be pretty easy to do a live discussion on the nitty gritty of a computer aided design class at the college level. And I bet we have a couple of people, there'd probably be some Comcats that would jump in, Todd, too, of people that are willing to kind of jump in and figure that out. Maybe this is, since Todd organizes these, I'm gonna say, what if we pulled that one together? We should pull that one together and see if people are willing to bring like their syllabi and that, because that's the sort of thing I'd happily share. Like I can send you mine.
Yeah, like in my case, my lab is part of a course, so it's 25% of a course. It is not a full course. If I were at a college here, it'd be a full course. I've done full courses on AutoCAD, you know, but it is not. It's here's a slice of the pie, right? Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
interested in that. I mean, I'm also interested in learning more examples and looking at the cards, having fun, being creative in the lab. I do a lot of that, right?
Do you have a lot of freedom for your lab to set the assignments, or is there a set curriculum that you all usually follow?
No, I've created it all over all these years. It's all mine. Yeah, there's no, nobody's set a curriculum for me. I've just said, I think these are the things they need to know. And then I just massage them, and we've changed CAD products, and eventually we will change again. I'm looking at Fusion. I want to introduce learning 2 kinds of CAD in the lab. So now we just did that in SolidWorks, or say Onshape. Now let's go into SolidWorks. Don't panic, because that'll be the first thing that happens to you in your first work term, is you're going to have to teach yourself in the corner. Right. So I'm playing with a lot of things, but I'm trying to find the sweet spot of how much they need to know. And also I've changed how I test. I used to test, we used to do SolidWorks test. They had an hour and a half. We were all sitting in a lab before pandemic. You know, you'd have 40 students in a lab. You've got an hour and a half to draw 4 or 5 components, assemble them, do an assembly drawing, maybe an exploded assembly with bill of materials, an hour and a half. It was quite the ask. It was quite a lot to ask. And we did see like breakdowns and, you know, crying, and not always, but difficult, right?
Absolutely.
It's difficult. And now I said, because of the pandemic, we said, well, you're going to test from home. I'm going to give you 7 hours. You're going to do the same amount of work. Plus I'm adding on a detailed drawing. Plus I'm getting you to design something that's unique. Plus you'll do a detailed drawing so it can be manufactured, an assembly drawing and an exploded assembly drawing, and in Onshape, a master sketch drawing. So I added way more, which was all covered. And I think in a way it took that test anxiety away, and it gave them more leeway to kind of learn and do something unique and explore. The good thing about Onshape is you have an account.
Yeah.
Different from SolidWorks. Now, again, there's different, I know there's new Cloud CAD coming through SolidWorks, but anyway, yeah, so.
Well, and I mean, honestly, a test for CAD is sort of an odd thing. I've actually stopped testing in CAD, and we just do projects, because the test anxiety of it, and also, you know, is that realistically like how we would do CAD? It's not really how we do CAD anyway. We have a deadline. We figure out what we'll get done by then. But sitting in one room with a bunch of stressed out fellow classmates, I didn't do well in that situation, so I feel like I can't do it to my students.
I agree fully, 100% agree. Not only that, but by taking the 2 tests out in the lab, I can teach. We can do homework. So now we've added 25% more time back into learning by taking the test out, and you have to do that test at home on a Friday night. Yeah, that's your Friday night, but you've got 7 hours, and you have an account, which I can look in and see everything is different from everyone else. That's one thing I like about Onshape, right? Is everyone's is different. It's not like I borrowed my friend's such and such.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll write this down. I like this idea of what if we organize a get together, and maybe it's not even like figure out what we call it, but a get together of computer aided design instructors and how we teach it. And that's something, if we pull that together, which now Todd's writing it down, so I'm sure we will, they'll announce it out through the mailing list when and how we're doing it.
Yeah, the design of a CAD lab, not
like that
designing CAD, but the design.
Yeah, how do we teach it?
Lab,
how should we teach CAD in a way that is nice for us and also for our students? But you know,
are you teaching SolidWorks right now in your lab? Yep. And do you use the learning resources? I
use their tutorials.
The tutorials, yeah. So did I. Yeah, yeah. I'd be interested to know which ones you use.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I can tell you off the top of the hat, we do lesson 1, getting started, lesson 2, assemblies, lesson 3, drawings, and then we do revolves. And I can email you this, but revolves and sweeps, lofts, pattern features, sheet metal, advanced drawings, animations, and sustainability, and then rendering. So about 11 of them. I only see my students, it's a half class, so I only see them this semester. I see them 14 times for 100 minutes.
Okay.
And we also do hand drawing, so perspective drawing, and also
right.
Yeah, so it's a lot. And so we've cut things out quite a bit. Like we used to be 4 credits and,
Okay, okay.
but
Wow,
I've
okay,
also
so
the only, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I've used many of those tutorials that you've spoken of. Yeah.
Do you have ones that I haven't spoken of that you like?
No, you've named a few that I haven't used.
Okay.
But yeah, we've used most of those. Yeah. But I like the Onshape learning paths. I will say the learning
Ooh.
pathways.
All right, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. If you ever want to know more about Onshape, I'd be happy to share with you.
Awesome. Oh, here, I will link with you on Engineering Unleashed's website too.
Awesome.
When does your semester end?
It has ended just, but the labs run for 10 weeks. So we always finish about 2 weeks before the course ends.
Got it.
So yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm on like a little more relaxed mode right now, but I'm gearing up for all new material and a whole new suite of things that are less onerous, like, and less talking. I find I do a lot of talking in the lab, and that cuts into the learning time, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, some of it is how do we guide them to do it on their own too, and ask questions when they have it. So we have a lot of drop-in hours that students can come to, and some of those are run by undergraduates. So I have sophomores and juniors and seniors who also help, which is lovely because they are closer in age to the students, and sometimes the students are more comfortable asking them questions. And honestly,
Yeah, we have
better.
tutors. Yeah, we have a success center and tutors as well, maybe similar that way. So they have homework hours. Like it's a lot of homework. You probably have 2 to 4 hours a week of homework.
And they also have a lecture too that goes with this class?
Yeah, they have a lecture, which is separate from that. Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording here. But this has been a great first session. Thank you for joining the experiment, Caroline. It's really nice to meet you. For anybody that's tuning in on this, we are planning to do more of these. If you would like to be on the show and show off some cards that you like or that you have used in the classroom or you're thinking of using, that's great. We've also had a couple of really neat ideas for some other live sessions here for the community. So I will be happy to organize those and get you on screen and handle all the technical details so you can have great conversations. And in the meantime, I hope all of you have a great productive week and have a lot of fun. We'll see you again next time.